Okay, you are in the kitchen with Jelly 007, and tonight, beef stew. And not just any beef stew, some of the best beef stew you've ever ate, I guarantee it. And that's because I'm using beef short ribs. And they're probably not the cheapest cut you can get, and they're not the easiest to cook unless you've got a pressure cooker. And that's why tonight we're doing them in the Ninja Foodie. I swear, I believe the short rib is arguably the best cut of beef on the cow, bar none. Anyhow, y'all hold on. I'm going to bring y'all around, show you what's going in it, or what I put in it, and how I do it, and all of the above. I'll be right back. Okay, so here is everything I put in one. Now, you can add to or take away, obviously, but to start with, the star of the show, these right here. These short ribs, they are, like I said, the best tasting meat on the cow, if you ask me. They really are. They have a lot of good qualities. Now, I'm using bone-in, and you can use boneless. The only reason I'm not is because the ones yesterday, the boneless ones just didn't look as good as the bone. So I'm using a bone kind. This right here, I got both of these out because if you don't have this kitchen bouquet, then you could use Worcestershire. But what I want to say about those is you have to be careful with either one of them. I'm going to put it to taste. Now, I'll start out with a teaspoon or so, or maybe 2 teaspoons, and then taste it. Same way with that. You just shake a little bit and taste. You can go too far is my point. Let's see, next is 32 ounces of beef stock. This is avocado oil that I'm going to spray on here and spray on the short ribs. And I'm going to spray inside of this 8-quart Ninja. I'm using an 8-quart Ninja tonight. But I'm just going to, kind of spray it all down. And then we're going to brown those or sear them before we cook them. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these carrots up on the ends and all. And then I'm probably just going to most likely use Scotch-Brite on them. I don't usually peel my carrots and I don't peel potatoes. I will take Scotch-Brite and clean those up, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. And I'm going to quarter the potatoes and cut these into, say, inch and a half long chunks, and maybe cut them in half if I need to. I'm going to rough cut this onion, and I'm only using 1 onion because it's fairly large. If it were not, I would be using 2. So I'm going to use I'll put a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half of flour in it at a certain point. But y'all hold on. We're going to start with this. Right now, we got to sear these and then cook them. And that'll give us time to be doing all this while they're cooking for like the 30 minutes. So I'll be right back. Okay, so right quick. All I'm doing is hitting sear saute on high and hitting start. And then I'm going to, like I said, spray these right here down, get them coated all the way around, and I'm going to put salt and pepper on them, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper on them while the Ninja's getting hot. And one thing I forgot to mention is this is right at 4 pounds of bone-in short ribs. So when I get done boning them, I think I'll have like 3 pounds. I don't think I mentioned that. I'm not sure. But anyhow, there's what I'm doing. I'm going to wipe my hands off here and put some salt and pepper on them, and that's going to be it. So hold on just a second, and I'll give you an idea about what I'm going to do on both sides. Now, both sides will get this right here. Actually, this is the wrong salt, and I may have to find the right salt. Here it is. And just going to do this right here on both sides, and then I'm going to grind a little pepper on them, and that's going to be it, about like that. So anyhow, we're going to give this a minute to get hot because I do want this just to sear, and I got to get some tongs out where I can flip them after they sit a minute, but y'all hold up. Okay, so the Ninja's plenty hot. I'm going to set some of this in there. You can hear it sizzling a little bit. And just kind of place them in where they're not, you don't want them crowded, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. So I'm going to just place them in there and put them where they got to go. And it's not that big of a deal, quite honestly. And they're not going to be crowded. I mean, that works out pretty good. I mean, like I said, the boneless might have been the way to go, and just because it's less steps too. But I just didn't like the looks of them yesterday at Publix, so I went with these. But you can see what I got here. If I can do it without shaking the camera up too bad. But all we're going to do is let those sit in there a minute. I'm going to turn them on each side and get them browned, and then we're going to go to the next step. I'll be right back. Okay, so that has been about 15 minutes, and they're all brown I want, so I'm going to turn the Ninja all the way off. And as you can see, they look plenty good. I'm going to cool it down just a little bit because we're going to put this entire container right here in and those onions that I've rough cut. So, this is what we're going to do. And honestly, after I've looked at this a little bit, I may end up adding a little more broth when this is done right here. But we're going to see. It's all look and feel. If it ain't the way I like it, once these are cooked and I start adding those potatoes for what I want as stew, then I add a little broth or water or whatever you got. Anyhow, here goes that whole onion. I put them in at this point. And the reason is that we're not crazy about onions here. We love them. They, like I say before in another video, they just don't particularly like us. So I had to be careful. I like for them to be completely cooked. They don't bother me when they're cooked, but I don't know why if they're not. So now all we're going to do, I'm not adding anything at this point other than what you see right now. We're going to put the lid on. And put it on seal, obviously. Sitting there a little crooked. And making sure you can see what I'm doing. Turn the power back on. Pressure high for 30 minutes. And we are off and running. And as soon as that's done, by the time that's done, of course, I'll have the carrots done and the potatoes done. And we're going to bring those out, bone them, and start the vegetables, the rest of the vegetable cooking. Be right back. Okay, we're coming up on the end of the 30 minutes where all we're going to do is do a quick release. Once that's done, we're going to set them out here and let them cool a little bit, and we're going to add some vegetables. But anyhow, here we go. Okay, so there went the pan. All we got to do now, open this thing up and pull those out. In fact, I may move you around a little bit, let you see what they look like, because you can see what the onions and all look like in there. So I'm going to take all of those out, and we're going to add that kitchen bouquet and a tablespoon and a half of the all-purpose flour and a teaspoon and a half of the kitchen bouquet. But I'm going to get these out first, and I'll let you see a couple of these right quick, because I want these to cool a little bit. But I mean, I got some gloves. I can bone them with the gloves. There ain't no problem. It's just, I think they hold together. It just seems like when you cut them up when they're real hot, they don't seem to do as good as after they cool a little bit. Actually, you could probably cool them a long time. But you can see they look fantastic, man. Look at the bones pulled back. That is again, I think it's it's a well-known piece of meat, but I think you don't hear many people cooking it, and it is really, I think it's one of the best cuts on the cow, like I said. But anyhow, I'm going to let those sit just a minute. You know what? Now I'm going to go ahead and add this. I'm going to make sure you can see what's happening, which it ain't no big deal. I've been looking for a reason to use these, and finally I found one. 1.5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to stir that up because I don't see any reason to not put it in right now. I don't think I always have, but this way I won't forget it, and I can. It gives a little more time for it to cook, and I think they call it. I don't know what it does, but anyhow, it kind of gets that flour time to cook. And then I'm going to put this teaspoon and a half of kitchen bouquet. So while those are cooling a little bit. And by the way, I turned the keep warm function off on the Ninja just because I don't want it getting real hot. I want it to slow down a minute because there's no reason in me heating it anymore. We're fixing to put those in, but I kind of want to wait till that moment. So when I start the pressure cooking, because I'm only going to do a minor amount of pressure cooking, maybe 2 minutes on those vegetables. But anyhow, I'll be right back. We're going to let this cool just a second. Okay, so I moved those vegetables off the board. I don't want to put them in that liquid yet because I don't know how long I'm going to wait. and I don't want them to start cooking. But I mean, the bone slides out, and all I'm gonna do is tear and chop. But I mean, you can see what I mean. And yes, they're still a little warm, but not bad. I mean, I can hold them. That's probably been 5 minutes. I did have to get pretty busy on that, where I dumped that flour in, the new little thing I had, because it all went in one glob. And honestly, I usually do it with a tablespoon, you know, and kind of scatter it. Well, it didn't scatter all that well. So I had to get busy in there to get it to break up. Whoops, I keep doing it backwards. But anyhow, the dogs will love those. And I got to get me a towel. I got one right here. So all I'm going to do, just so you'll know what I'm doing, and I may show you again in a minute, but I'm just going to cut these in to like bite-sized chunks, just like that. And then I'm going to turn it and do that. And I mean, if you've never eaten beef short ribs, I say it every time I cook them. It's a gelatinous, it's an excellent, excellent piece of meat. And I'm gonna do that with the rest of them, and then we're gonna get that in there. As a matter of fact, I'll probably get those in there in just a second, but hang on just a second. Let me get my act together. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is put these in to this liquid, and we're gonna pressure cook them for 2 minutes. And while that's happening, I'm going to finish cutting up these short ribs and picking out any, you know, heavy gristle-like stuff. But I'm not going to do a lot to them. I mean, I will get out anything that I don't think, you know, you can chew, obviously. But right now, this is going in. And all we got to do is knock it around a little bit. Find the lid, which is right here. Put the lid on. If I may have to move the camera to do that. It's still a little warm. Put the vent to seal. Turn it on, because I had turned it off from that. When you hit keep warm, when you knock off keep warm, it takes everything. I forgot about that, and it wasn't that big a deal. I just do. Gonna do it on high. Oops, for 2 minutes. And we are off and running. And now while that's happening, I'm gonna be cutting these up, getting them ready. Be right back. Okay, we're coming up on the 2 minutes, and you can see about what waste there was. And honestly, I hesitate to call that waste. I mean, there's a lot of people that would eat most of that, but I tried to trim it out pretty good. Gonna let that bleed down on a quick release. We're gonna add that and see what it's like. Be right back. Okay, there went the pan. Took 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and knock that keep warm off, but you can see it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds to bleed down. I'm gonna see what we got. And I think you can see in there, because all we're gonna do now is drop that meat in. We're gonna let it sit there just a minute. Kind of come back to temperature and just kind of mellow out together right there. Let's see what I do. There it is. I'm just going to stir them up a little bit, but I don't want the heat on it anymore, because I want to see where those vegetables are before I do. And I thought I was going to have to add more, maybe add more broth, but no, that is plenty. So there you go. What it looks like right now. We're going to put some in a bowl and eat some of it. And I'm kind of anxious to try it. But like I said, there ain't nothing wrong with it. Those short ribs are one of the best cuts on the cow. But anyhow, be right back. In fact, I'm going to pull a potato out, one of the larger ones right here, just to make sure it's okay. And let's see, I can probably tell like this. And it is. That is, I mean, that is absolutely perfect, because if you went much further, I felt a little bit of resistance right there, which is perfect, because it'll continue to cook in that hot liquid for the next 5 minutes, and it'll be perfect. So, and that was one of the largest ones I had in there. Now let's try the carrots right quick, since I'm doing it. And Same way, absolutely perfect. I don't think you could hit that anymore. I mean, if you wanted to dip it out the instant you pulled that lid off, maybe do 3 minutes. So that would be it, because it takes way less time than you think to cook the vegetables. But anyhow, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to put the keep warm back on, and that's a little more than a cup of frozen English peas. And I'm just going to stir those right in there and give it a little color and flavor. It's going to be perfect, I'm telling you. That I ate the carrot and that potato I pulled out after sitting there for about 3 minutes, and they were absolutely on point, perfect. The carrots, you certainly wouldn't go any further, and the potato, either one. So that's right there is pretty close to what it's going to end up like. I'm gonna leave it on the keep warm just for a few minutes and let it heat those peas up, and then we're gonna get a bowl out and see how it is. Be right back. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes, and I think you can see that is some excellent looking beef stew. So I'm about to put some in a bowl, and I'm gonna eat some tonight, and then I'm gonna do what I always do, or not always, but most of the time. I'm gonna put the lid on this, put it in let it cool a little bit, put it on some wooden boards I have, or little wooden slats I put in my refrigerator to keep it from breaking the glass from being so hot. And tomorrow I'll set this in about an hour, hour and a half before we're going to eat, and I will have a dish for tomorrow, and it's as simple as that. So I'm gonna get a minimal amount out of here. Maybe they can't tell, but that right there with some bread, which I will have tomorrow. Whoops. But this right here with some bread to go with it, some French bread, oh, it's gonna be good. So I'm gonna sit down. I'm eating this bowl, so y'all hold on. Okay, so it's kind of like that commercial I remember from years ago that said, I don't know whether to use a spoon or a fork. Well, it's that way. I mean, the broth is 100% excellent. I mean, it really is. It's from those beef short ribs. There's no doubt that flavor's there. The carrots are they're spot on. They really are, and I don't know how you get them much better. The potatoes are the same way. A piece of bread with this would be absolutely all you would need. Now, I did put a little salt and pepper on it, and it was borderline whether it needed salt. But that right there, that short rib, is just like it always is. I'm gonna see if I can get in here between all this. Lights and stands and tripods. But it's very good. Take my word. So anyhow, that's a recipe I have for beef stew that I use the beef short ribs in. And it works real well. I love it, and I feel they will tomorrow too. So again, that's fixing to go in the refrigerator and come right back out in the morning or tomorrow around lunch. In the Kitchen with Jelly, I appreciate y'all watching my video. Come back to see me. Thanks a lot for watching. I love y'all all. Like, share, subscribe, all that down there at the bottom. Bye, y'all.